Welcome to WP Coffee Talk with your podcast barista, Michelle Frechette. Special thanks to our sponsors, WS Forum and Beaver Builder. If you're interested in joining WP Coffee Talk as a guest or a sponsor, please visit our site at WPCoffeeTalk.com. And now, on with the show. Welcome back to the next episode of WP Coffee Talk. I'm your podcast barista, Michelle Frechette. And as the intro says, I'm serving up WordPress stories from around the globe. Today, I am very honored to have a good friend of mine as my guest, Nyasha Green. Nyasha is a software developer extraordinaire. And she also has been working with me and Allie Nimmons on some stuff over Underrepresented in Tech, some things that are coming out very soon. So if you're watching this episode or listening to this episode when we first launched it, it's not out yet, but keep an eye on it. And if you're listening to it as evergreen content a year from now, we hope you loved it. But anyway, Naisha, thanks for joining me today. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Michelle?
I'm good, thanks. It's seven. We're both in the same time zone, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's 7:15 p.m. on a Thursday night. Thursday, yeah, it is Thursday night. Oh my gosh, this week's been crazy. And
Mm-hmm.
and I turned on my furnace, so there you go. It's freezing here.
What?
I'm so
Oh,
cold.
wow.
It's like 65 degrees outside and I'm freezing. So
That is like perfect temperature for me. It's been like 89 today here. So,
yeah, you're gonna want to bring a jacket when you come to work here in Rochester though, because September
oh,
30th it's gonna be getting chilly.
okay, awesome. I love the fall. So,
Make a note, make a note.
hmm
So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
yeah. So I am a software developer and I work primarily in WordPress. I'm also an instructor for LinkedIn Learning. I have my course on blocks coming out probably the beginning of next year. I am a mentor. I have over 40 mentees. I'm trying to help it get into tech all over the world. Um, I am the co-marketing rep for the Make Marketing team. So I am a WordPress contributor as well. And I am also a co-organizer for our Columbia, South Carolina WordPress meetup group. So I'm
Woo!
co of a lot of things. So I do a lot. I do it all.
So when you have co in front of your title all over the place, it just made me think of like when you used to get the report cards
Mhm.
when you're a kid, it says works well with others. So you must work well with others, which is a
I
good thing.
do. Yeah, I do. I get to work with you at UIT, so that's fun too. So,
Yeah, that's all
yeah.
good stuff. Yeah, for sure. So tell us about your mug and what's in it today.
So my mug is a Dios de los Muertos
I
inspired mug.
love
I love
those.
that holiday. I speak Spanish. So
Bueno.
I love Spanish culture and I love this holiday in particular. And I love the beautiful skull
Sure.
decorations that you get. So
Yeah,
I love
that's
that. And
gorgeous.
I'm drinking green tea tonight because this week has been long and
Eh,
it's Friday almost.
almost,
Tomorrow I
almost
will
Friday.
replace it with vodka.
There you go. I know that feeling. Okay, so my mug I have today, I don't think I've used it on the show before. It is a friend of mine. And when the Wordle craze went crazy,
Mhm.
created a little shop. Now it's not technically Wordle because it's 4-letter words instead of 5-letter words. And if you
Mhm.
are easily offended, look away now. But this is my mug. And if you're just listening, it says tank, corn, sick, duck, and then the F word at the bottom where it's all
I love
green.
it.
So isn't that fun? And I have
That is awesome.
mint tea in my mug tonight. So sipping along with you. So tell us, how did you get started in WordPress?
So I was learning how to code on my own. First, I was self-taught through Free Code Camp on freecodecamp.org, which is great, phenomenal place for everybody to learn how to code for free. And then I got into a program. It's not a thing anymore, but it was a program, and it was specifically launched to bridge the gap between underrepresented people and the status quo in tech. So I got into the program and got a full grant to learn code. And then they also set me up with an internship where I learned WordPress development.
That's very cool. How long ago was
Mhm.
that?
4 years now. Four,
Okay.
five. What year is it? Almost 5 years. Oh my God.
Time does fly, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. When you look at websites, whether they're stuff that we've built, you've built, whoever's built, but when you look across like the web universe,
Mhm.
What's something that you think that we as web builders don't focus enough attention on or skip altogether that would actually make our websites better user experience for those people who are site visitors?
I know this is probably a common one, but accessibility. And the
Yeah.
reason I'm saying accessibility is one, because we want to make our websites accessible for everybody. You want as many people as possible to be able to visit and use your website.
Mm-hmm.
But also, a good point that is constantly being brought up, and I heard it recently again doing one of the UIT talks. If you make a page or a website accessible, everybody benefits, not just people who may need extra accessibility
Yeah.
software or things like that. Like, everybody benefits. And a specific thing that I didn't know about until I got into deep into WordPress coding was like walls of text on pages. And
Mm-hmm.
it's been coming up, especially in client conversations lately. Like, people are like, nobody's reading this. And it's like, it's also bad for accessibility. So maybe if it was accessible, you could kill two birds with one stone. Sorry for that
No.
analogy, but yeah, so it's
We're
definitely
not really
accessibility.
killing birds. It's okay. The birds still
Yeah,
live.
I like birds.
Me too. Me too. No, but that's so true, right? So I used to, I'm not going to name names and throw anybody in the bus, but I used to use a page builder that the default text was a gray. No, it's a little like not even, I wouldn't even say charcoal gray, like a little bit lighter than charcoal gray. And
Mhm,
like, I mean, I'm not old, but I'm not young either. And I was like, why is it like, it looks like it's size 8 font in like the faintest gray. Like, I need more than that. So,
mhm.
and if I visit your site and I can't see it, I'm going to open up the inspector. I'm going to change the font color on every page that I look so I can actually read it. But not everybody knows how to do that. So I think that,
Yeah.
that you really hit the nail on the head that when you do make your site
Mhm,
accessible, everybody does benefit for sure. Um,
mhm.
and if you don't think that you need, personally, not you, but the site builder, needs any accommodations at this point, imagine yourself 30, 40, 50 years down the road where you will wish that other people were taking that into account as well, because our
Mhm.
eyes don't last, especially when you're staring at a screen all day.
Oh yeah.
So, right, like crazy. So yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. There are so many things that we all should focus on, but accessibility should be absolutely be right at the top of that list.
Yes.
So I don't know how long you've been in tech, right? So we're talking WordPress, maybe 5 years. What is something that in your journey, whether it's your business journey, your WordPress journey, your coding journey, what's something that you wish you'd known earlier that would have made life a whole lot easier?
Um, it's a lot of things actually, but no, I wish that I would have known. I don't want to say how easier, because it's not easy. I wish I would have known how good and how good WordPress tech makes it, or web development makes it, to start your own business. I was
Mm-hmm.
somebody I've always been afraid of starting my own business. I've done freelance work, but it was usually still under the direction of somebody, like, "Hey, I have this project for you." It was
Gotcha.
never like it's never like me controlling my own work. And I wish that I'd known sooner that I could control my own work myself a lot sooner, because I let myself be underpaid and undervalued in too many places.
Mm.
So that's one thing I wish I would have known sooner.
That makes a lot of sense. I have told the story before. I don't think I've told it in a while. You may not have heard it, but when
Mhm.
I first started freelancing, I thought I was raking in the dough by charging $300 for an entire brochure website. Like, and
Mm,
when somebody came to me and they said they needed an e-commerce site, I thought I was really making out when I charged them 500. And that was only 10 years ago. Like, it's not that long ago, right? I'm not talking
yeah.
about like when the internet was first dawned upon. So yeah, no, I agree. Not only could you make your own business, but having the I can't think of the right word, but the foreknowledge or whatever to actually like pick some people's brains and find out what pricing is and
Mhm.
some of those things so that you don't undermine yourself, because it's so easy. It's easy to discount. It's a lot harder to raise prices for people,
Yes.
right? So
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I think that's a good lesson for everybody. Like, pay attention, right?
Yes.
When you think back over the WordPress events that you've attended, whether it's a WordCamp, a meetup, some other event,
Mhm.
what is like if you think about some of your favorite WordCamp or meetup experiences, was there like one of those pivotal moments? I like to say like the clouds opened and the birds sang and the angels were there with their little flappy wings and you were like, oh, okay, maybe not that dramatic, but yeah, was there, what's a moment that was really pivotal moment for you?
That's another question where I have a lot. So I was like, I have to narrow it down. And I want to talk
We
about
got time.
I want to talk about this recent WordCamp US. So I've been to a few, and this I've never been like, I guess, not in the right headspace to be at one. I've always been really psyched for them. I've always been really prepared. But since I have gone through so much in the last few months, I was not really mentally prepared for this WordCamp. And I think there were two moments, and they were kind of connected because there was one person in common with both of them. But I was trying to find my place in the WordPress community. I didn't know if I still wanted to do development work because I did get laid off and I had really bad imposter syndrome. But I didn't know what else I could do. Not could do, because as you heard earlier, I do a lot, but what I should do. And I went to Aida Jackson's talk. She's wonderful, by the way. And she was talking about, like, being a non-developer in the community. And some of the things she touched on, they were things I just never really thought about. And it made me think, I don't know if she knew this, but she made me think about all these incredible people in the community that are not just wearing multiple hats like I am, but they also have had the same trouble I've had. They've had imposter syndrome. They've been in rooms where they couldn't understand things. They've questioned jobs or things they've undergone. And she said, it was a simple thing. She said people may think, but it really, like, I wanted to cry. I don't know why I was so emotional during work camp, but she said, if anyone has ever told you that you don't belong in this community, I'm here to tell you you do, and I'm really glad you're here. And she said it like it was so friendly and natural. Like it wasn't like, oh, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being here. And so that was really like I wanted to cry. And like she doesn't know what all I was going through, but I was like, I had been questioning my worth and value in this community for so long, and that really helped me. And I had lunch with her and her husband William. Great. And Robert, I cannot remember Robert's last name. He has the hat with the pins, the Wapu pins.
Windish.
Yes, he's wonderful. We had a
Yeah.
long conversation. Like we ate lunch and talked, I think, for another like 30 minutes to an hour. And Aida was there too. And just like they talked about like finding your place in the community and things you can do. And it was exactly what I needed. Like I hadn't expressed to anybody how I was like feeling or what I needed. And like they gave it to me. So that was probably my most memorable experience and why I'm still in the community. And I got another software development job.
I love it. And I mean, I can tell you a million times over how much I love that you're in the community. And I think that we have those like aha pivotal moments. Maybe not every single one is the angels descending upon us kind of thing, but we do have those that we can look at and we can point back to and we can say, this is when I felt loved or wanted, or this is when I learned something that really made a difference to me. And I'm going to you at WordCamp US last year in 2022, you getting excited to meet me was one of those moments for me because I was excited to meet you. And like, I think we just had this like weird moment where we were both fangirling over each other and it was so much fun.
Oh my gosh.
And then we got to spend time together in Asia, and then of course this year. And there are probably a handful of people in the WordPress community who I text on my phone and I have phone numbers for, and I'm so grateful that I'm not going to like publish your phone number, of course, but where I can text you, and like as soon as you see it, you text me right back, and that just makes me happy. So thank you for what you do in the WordPress community, for sure.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Likewise. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about development. Like I do the like the outside of development things. Like I will help you sell a plugin. I will promote people in the community. I'll do all those kind of things. And I do I do have a plugin in the repository, but I can't really call myself a developer because
Yes, you
it's
can.
well, okay, maybe this much, but let's try to do a little bit. But But yeah, I am constantly just in awe of the fact that developers like you can type a bunch of what looks like math equations and Greek and everything else. And then like all of a sudden this wonderful things happen. It's like when I was a kid, I couldn't understand how a piece of vinyl could go around in a million circles and I could hear Olivia Newton-John sing to me. Like I'm mystified by all those kinds of things. So tell me a little bit more about what you do as far as development. Are you working on plugins? Are you working on websites? Like just kind of, lay it down for us.
Yeah, so I work primarily on websites, building them for people, or helping people with existing websites. And it's I thought the same thing before I got into web development. I was like, because I learned how to code, but I didn't necessarily want to do web development at first. I actually wanted to build iPhone apps, and now that seems so wild. It was strange for me to say that. Like I was like, why did I want to do that? But um I was in a similar place where I felt the same, but I work with websites. I'm trying to dip my toes into plugins because they're so fascinating to me. Also, I'm creating my own blocks. I'm not a designer, and I'm not an artist. Like if you don't tell me how you want your colors and everything like that, it's going to look terrible, but it's going to work because I can make it work. So I work dabbling in plugins soon, web development, building sites, troubleshooting. I love fixing problems for some reason. So that's what I do.
Are you one of those bug hunters? Like, do you look for solving? Are you a problem solver, like that kind of thing?
I want to be, but not in the sense of web development. I would like to actually get into down the line hacking and finding bugs
Mm,
that way. That's
yeah.
that's something I've been very interested in. When I first got into tech, I wanted to do cybersecurity, but
Oh,
I
cool.
didn't. But I'm going to revisit it.
I don't blame you. It sounds like I remember some of the movies early on in the days of the web, like The
Mhm,
Net with Sandra Bullock and like Sneakers, where they were like all these hacker kind of stuff. And it's like it looked
mhm,
so like to the point where when I first got on the web for the first time, I was working, gosh, it was 1990. Yeah. 1993, I think, 94. I was
mhm.
working at a college and it was the first time like we got new computers and like there was this thing called the internet suddenly that people could be connected to. And because we were in a work setting, I didn't have to dial up. There was no AOL connection, like those kind of things. It was
Mhm,
mainframed and all that kind of stuff. And
mhm.
so I remember like they're like, the internet's here, you can surf the web. And I was like, I don't know what to look for. Like I didn't even know. So I live in Rochester, New York. I was like, well, I'm going to look at Kodak.com. Then I'm going to see if
Mhm.
Kodak exists. Of course it did. And I clicked through and I looked at another page and I hit the back button. And the link that I had clicked went from like purple to yellow. And I was like, oh my God, they're going to know that I was there because the link color changed. But I mean, it was 93, right? Like it was a long time ago. So it is funny. I agree. But like that was the first time that I was realizing that people can see what you do on the web. And so the
Mhm.
idea that, that this hacker culture exists for good or bad, right? Because there are good
Mhm.
hackers for sure.
Oh yeah.
Understand you can't understand security until you don't know how to lock a door or make sure a house is locked up and that your locks are going to work if the locksmith can't figure out how to break into it too. So that
Yes.
makes perfect sense.
Yes.
So so when you do start hacking, just stay away from my websites, okay?
I got you. I don't want to be like what's going on in Vegas right now. Did you hear about that? The hackers in Vegas?
No, tell me.
Oh my gosh, look that up. Hackers have seized control of like the security information for the MGM
Oh
hotels. And
wow.
MGM owns like a bunch of things in Vegas. They're saying like half the strip is like shut down. ATMs, machines, hotels. Yeah, look it
Wow.
up. Look it up.
As soon as we're done here, I'm gonna be
Mhm.
looking that up for sure. They'll probably know that I looked it up though. I mean,
That's I heard a rumor that they actually were paying off. They paid some of the hackers some money, and I was like, "Oh my god, are you serious?" And I'm sitting here like, I typed install wrong today, and like my terminal was like, "Are you sure about this?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm going to go hack." So, yeah.
it's so funny. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you just never know. There's something going
Mhm,
on in the world all the time, and security is definitely an important thing. And I know that people in the past have said, like, even like I once built a website it doesn't exist anymore. His business doesn't exist anymore, but I built liliespooppatrol.com. And it was a guy who would go to your house and pick up all your dog crap in your yard. So, like, and I said, I build with WordPress, and he's like, I heard that's not secure. I'm like, okay, it's a brochure site. Nobody's doing they're not paying you through your website. And now I can say, well, NASA and like the White House are on WordPress, so it must be pretty secure.
Mm-hmm.
I came up with we're number one for your dog's number two. That was my favorite line for that.
I love that. Please bring it back. Bring it back one day.
I know. Like, where are you, Grant? Let's do Lily's Poop Patrol again. Let me move on into our rapid fire questions. I will ask them rapidly. You take all the time you need to answer them. But here we go. Okay. So what are 2 to 3 must-have plugins that you would recommend to somebody building their own website?
Query Monitor is one, and Code Snippets is another. Reason being, especially now with sites going to FSE or full site editing, you're going to want to have Query Monitor so you'll know which templates you're using, especially if you're doing if you're creating custom templates in full site editing. That code does not live. Oh my God, it doesn't live in your files anymore, which is, I'm sorry if I'm saying this wrong. I'm a developer, I promise. The code actually lives in the database now. And I've already run into issues that I've kind of fixed around that. So you want to have, if you're having a template pool issue, you want to have Query Monitor. You'll want to have it in general, but it's definitely going to be good for FSE. Code snippets, again, might be really good for FSE. If you need to play around with your functions.php file, but maybe you don't have a FileZilla or a way to get to the files, why not play around with the code snippet? See if it'll work before you even go in there and tamper around with and edit the files. So those are my 2 favorite ones. I'm very careful. I break stuff easily. So
And so that the third one would be make sure that your site is always backed up.
Yes, please use a backup plugin.
Use a backup plugin and only edit the staging.
Yes, especially if you let me get in your site. I'm going to say, hey, back this up.
All right. Well, when we work together in the future, I'm going to make sure that I've got a staging site set up just for you.
Please.
At any point in your WordPress and coding journey, have you had a mentor, whether it was an official mentor or somebody that you kind of just looked up to and emulated? Maybe somebody took you under their wing a little bit. If so, who was it?
Yeah, so I have 2 mentors that I am fortunate enough to still get to work with. The first one I met was Kenneth Elliott, and Kenneth does stuff in the community. He was actually an organizer at WordCamp US, and of WordCamp US, he was not there. I met him at a Google Developers Conference, and we started talking. And he was like, "Hey, you ever done any WordPress work?" And he and Shambi don't know this, and I don't know if they're going to watch this. I knew what WordPress was when I met them. They always say, "Oh, no, you didn't know what WordPress was." I knew what WordPress was. I had a blog back in college, but I had always heard that I shouldn't work in WordPress, and I didn't want to like say that to him. So I was like, "No, what's that?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, we should talk about it." And then when it was time for me, I knew how to code at this point, and I knew PHP. And he introduced me to Shambi Broom, which was my other mentor, and she gave me my first web development job. I did freelance work under her, and she taught me WordPress. And she also asked me what WordPress was, and I was like, "What's that?" And like, I'm ashamed to admit it to them. I've admitted it on like other podcasts, but I don't think they've listened. I knew what WordPress was, but I was so scared of WordPress. I had never heard anything positive about it. And then, but that's because I was listening to people who didn't use WordPress.
Yeah.
So they took me under their wing and
I'll make sure
me.
they hear this episode. Don't worry.
Oh, thank you. I'm like, what? But yeah, they both taught me WordPress development, and that's how I got into WordPress. My first job wasn't WordPress. My first full-time job, it was actually database work for the state of South Carolina. But I got my part-time job, and then it became my full-time job until a few months ago. So I had it for years, and it's thanks to them. And now I get to host the Columbia, South Carolina WordPress meetup with them.
I love it. And I know both of them, and they are just amazing people. Absolutely. Yeah. And I got to meet Shambi for the first time in Washington. So it was pretty cool to get to give her a hug and to really meet her. So that was pretty cool for sure. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you can't mention Ken or Shambi in this next question because, we got to bring more people into it. So who is somebody that you admire in the WordPress community and why?
When people ask me this, I always say Michelle. So I can't say you either. I know. I was narrowing now taking away all my
But
people.
thank you. But thank you.
Of course. I really admire Say Reed. If you don't know Say, she's also a co-marketing rep. She's been in the WordPress community for years, and she does so much for the project. And she's so passionate for the project, and the energy she brings makes you want to be passionate for the project. And along with you, Michelle, and a few other people, she's the reason why I'm still in the community, honestly. Um, there's a lot of people in the community, and it's okay. I'm not judging people by what I say. It's a lot of people in here, they're just about money. And that's fine. There's people there in the community, they're just about money and they'll tell you. It's people that won't tell you and they're about money and they're about what you can do for them. They don't really care about you, or that's how it seems. And if you're new to the community or you're somebody navigating it alone, it can be hard to distinguish between those people. It was hard for me when I blew up, I guess, on Master WP, and people were asking me who I was. And I was like, I'm Nyasha. That's it. But Say is somebody who she puts her money where her mouth is. She has a part of the WPCC, is trying to get contributors paid, trying to get more people into the project, and trying to keep people here. And she's amazing, and she is somebody I really look up to.
Yeah, I'll say I agree with that 100%. I think she also may be the only person in WordPress who talks faster than I do. She is
She
like,
does.
and I think it's because her energy, like she just has so much
Mhm.
energy, it has to come out really fast. But yeah,
Mhm.
I agree. And meeting her last year at WordCamp US was also very exciting for me. So yeah, 100%. I'm right behind you with that one as well.
Mhm.
We agree on a lot of things, you and I.
Mhm.
So, what's something that you still want to learn in WordPress, but that maybe you haven't tackled yet?
Oh my gosh. I want to learn how to build plugins. I want to learn how to do use, what is it? Oh God, I want to mess it up. Is it Insta WP?
The one that spins
I
them up real fast, those sites that you can
yes.
spin up. Yep.
Yes, I want to learn that. I want to learn how to create my own theme. I mean, I know how to do it, but I'm not creative. So I guess I'm gonna learn more UI UX work that I can
Mm-hmm.
integrate into WordPress. Um, I want to learn how to start my own company. I keep saying this to people and they keep thinking like freelance web development. I don't want to start my own freelance web development company. I do some freelancing on the side now
Mm-hmm.
for money. I love to keep it like that. I want my own, not that type of company business. And I just want to learn just more different ways people develop. I'm already learning different ways now at my new job. Just in the first few weeks. Just knowing the different ways that different people do stuff and knowing that in so many ways, I'm like, okay, that's why we're always so confused. But I want to learn more development ways. I want to contribute more. I want to learn how to build my own plugins. It's just so much.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's interesting. You bring up a point that, like, if you ask any group of WordPressers any question, you are not going to get everybody to say the same answer. Like, my
Mhm.
favorite thing is like in a meetup when somebody says, they're new and like, who's the best hosting company? 10 people have 10 different answers. Who's the best form plugin? 10 people have 10 different answers. Like, it just look it depends, right? The answer is always it depends, but
Mhm.
figuring out what works for you is what's important for sure.
Yes.
What's one of the biggest mistakes that you've made in WordPress and what did you learn from it?
So when you say mistake, do you mean like in development or like
Whatever you want to
anything?
say. It's been interesting. So just to give you a little background
Hmm.
story here, like one of my biggest mistakes was not understanding that WordPress doesn't FTP the same way that like HTML sites could FTP. So I built an entire site, tried
Oh.
to FTP it someplace else, and of course it didn't work. And I didn't know how to fix it and how to port it. And this is way back in 2012, I think. And
Hmm.
so I literally stayed up all night and rebuilt that site from scratch because I had no idea. So that was a mistake.
Hmm.
Chris Wigman came on the show and he was working for a web hosting company and killed 23,000 websites in a single blow that took 3 days to get back up. So it could be anything from I didn't know how that worked to oh poo, I just like took down half of the internet. So whatever.
I am very fortunate to never have made a huge mistake that I know of. I'm gonna say one time I always think about this. One time, I did a bunch of changes on a site. This is my first time because my web development this is a big disconnect for me. My web development in WordPress was not the same as working for an agency as it was freelance. I didn't know
Hmm.
anything about Gulp. I didn't know anything about Webpack and things like that. Like I did all the work on the staging and then I pushed it to production.
Hmm.
And I was pulling from WP Engine down to my computer and pushing it back up for the first time a couple years ago. And I did all these changes to the site and I was so happy and I did it and I didn't have to ask anyone for help. And I felt like the woman and I was like, yeah, look at me, go me. And I think it was like Friday too. And I was about to get off. And I went to push my changes up, but I didn't push them. I pulled the website and deleted all of my changes that I had done.
Oh no, I can feel your pain. Oh no.
And luckily, I had been sometimes if I see like a bug that's kind of crazy and I want to revisit, I'll save some of the code and like I'll compress it and like throw it on my external drive.
Hmm.
Luckily, like I had about half of the changes because like halfway through I wanted to save something. I just saved a
Hmm.
copy. But yeah, it's still like that was something that was supposed to end that Friday and it carried on into next week. And I always, anytime I'm pushing and pulling now, I had to do it today. I had to pull a new site because I was pulling some sites to my local. I was like, let me make sure I don't push a blank install and wipe this site out and get fired.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one. That's good. But we do learn, right? So now we learn, now you know, double check
Oh
before
yeah.
I push those buttons for sure. Well, let's talk about the opposite of that. What is your
Mhm.
proudest WordPress moment
Wow. My
or one of
proudest
them?
WordPress. Um, my proudest WordPress moment was getting hired on at LinkedIn, learning as an
Mm,
instructor. Um, the past, I'm gonna say year and a half, I've had the worst, and it's only gotten worse, imposter syndrome. And
mm,
it's like I couldn't understand it because I was like, I know how to code. And I just didn't feel like I was good enough WordPress developer. And I was encouraged so many times to like try out for LinkedIn and like I kept like I was so nervous. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And then I just knew I wouldn't. And then they're like, you need to contact them because they want to talk to you. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do it. And when when I applied for LinkedIn, it's a whole process I won't get into. I was told that my first audition video, they were like 95% of people have to do them over. So don't worry. Don't stress yourself out. Be natural. If you have to do it over, we'll give you feedback and you'll do it over. And I'm like, okay, I'm not that good of a developer. I kind of know what I'm talking about. I'm probably gonna have to do it over. And so I sent in my audition. Then the next morning, they wrote me back and said, "Oh, this is great. You don't have to do this over. We're gonna send this in." And I
ooh,
got the job. So
that's
that was my
awesome.
proudest moment. Yeah, I felt it's imposter syndrome is rough, and it's us. It's just us on hard on
Hmm.
ourselves.
Yeah,
And they were like, "Yeah, like we'll give you money. Talk to us, teach us." And I'm like, "Me?" And they're like, "Yeah, you." I'm like, "Well, LinkedIn and Microsoft are saying this, then maybe I'm okay. I'm an okay developer." That
I
was my
think you are.
proudest moment.
That's
Thank you.
awesome. I love that. That is, I mean, that's really good. And it's
Mhm,
just it's good to have that kind of feedback, especially if you do have imposter syndrome.
mhm,
And everybody has it from time to time. And when you've gone through some rough patches or whatever, that's when it's like rears its ugly head and makes you feel like you can't do. And
yeah,
so to have that kind of feedback, especially like almost immediate, like
mhm,
that's good. That helps you know you're in the right place and you're doing the right thing. So
yeah.
I'm happy for you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Um, Now, if you weren't working in web or technology, what's another career that you might like to attempt?
Sugar baby. I'm just kidding. Um,
I will honestly say you are the first person to ever give that answer on the show.
I
Yeah,
should that was something I should have looked into when I was learning how to code. But
I'm gonna mute myself so I can keep laughing while you tell us the real answer.
oh man. Oh I honestly, so what's funny is when people ask me this question, it's actually something that I was going to do before I got into tech. So I used to work in the insurance industry. That's what I did after college. I was a saleswoman. That's why I am really good at marketing rep. Um, I was a saleswoman and I was really good at it, but I was working in the insurance industry and it was one of the worst industries I think you can ever work in. In rural South Carolina too. Okay, I was in the capital, it wasn't rural, but South Carolina. And I said I couldn't do this anymore. And I was looking for other stuff to do. And so I was going to become a teacher. I was going to teach English overseas. And that was another one I was worried because I was very educated. I'm a college grad. I'm kind of smart. It's like I could do this. And I was just worried about my southern accent because they didn't want you to have a southern accent, and my accent was a little bit more southern then. But I got accepted to teach in China, Vietnam, and Japan, and I was going to do it. And I love traveling. I wanted to leave the country. I wanted to travel. I wanted to do something new. I wanted to meet new people. I wanted to learn new languages, eat new food. And that was the way I could do it and also help people and give back. So I didn't do it. I got married and then I got into tech. But if I ever left tech, I would pick up a suitcase and live out of that suitcase, traveling the world, teaching people English and learning their languages as well.
I love that. Okay, so you went from sugar baby, which made me laugh, to now I want to cry because that's so sweet.
Oh, the sugar baby wasn't sweet.
I mean, in a different kind of way. in a, in a laugh not cry kind of way. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'm gonna give you another caveat to the next question because you just talked about
Okay.
wanting to travel and that kind of thing. So travel
Mhm.
can't be your answer to the next question. So you got to think of a different one. But
Okay.
what is something on your bucket list?
One thing on my bucket list, I want to be able to speak 5 languages fluently
Ooh,
before
how
I am
how many do
I
you have
leave this
now?
earth. I could speak English and Spanish. I'm currently learning Korean, Japanese, Mandarin, and French.
Well, I know a little Spanish and a little French, and hats off to the rest of those for you. You can
That's
do
the
a
answer I always get. People are like, "What?"
you you'll be able to do a multilingual podcast at some point. That'd be
I would
pretty
love
cool.
that.
That'd be pretty cool for sure. Okay, show us or tell us about a hidden talent that you have that the WordPress community might not know about.
I do not have any hidden talents, but something really cool. One of my data nerd friends told me this and I didn't believe it because it's just something I didn't think about. People might be like, why didn't you believe that? So I am 6'2". I am American. I'm an American woman, 6'2". I am taller than 99% of all other American women. And I think 90 it was I can't remember the men. I'm taller than also 90 something percent of the men too.
Mm-hmm.
So I am one of the if you've met me and you've been around me and we've hung out, you've been around one of the tallest women in the United States. And that is so
That's
crazy to me
cool.
because I know I'm tall, but I'm like, dang, like there are people taller than me. They're WNBA players and models. But then you think about 300 million Americans. I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. I'm in the 1%. That's the closest I'm going to get to the 1%. We make that joke too.
So 1%. So I'm only 5 feet tall, and most of the time I'm sitting on a scooter, so I'm shorter even so. So everybody's tall to me. My daughter's 5'6", you're 6'2", and I honestly thought you were guys were about the same height because I look up, literally look up to everybody. So now I had no idea you were that tall, even though I've been in your presence very many times. Learn something new every day. That's so funny.
Mhm.
Is there anything else you want to talk about or tell us about before we get to that last question about how we find you online, etc.? Have I skipped anything that you wanted to say?
I don't know. I'm just we're gonna be together soon, like
We
at the end of
are,
the
yeah.
month for WordCamp Rochester. So I'm
Yep.
keynoting WordCamp Rochester and I get to be
I'm
with Michelle.
excited.
I'm so happy. Yeah, that's like I'm like working and toughing everything out because I'm like, oh, that's gonna be my I get to be with Michelle at the end of the month. So yeah, you should check us out at WordCamp Rochester. It's going to be
True.
so much fun. I'm such a fun person.
We're gonna eat garbage plates. And
We're
anybody who's listening who's not from around here, is not a foodie, has no idea what a garbage plate is. All I have to say is I could tell you what it's like, but you really have to Google it, see the pictures, read about it. to understand the full experience, but it's a good hangover cure. It's also called a heart attack on a plate, but it's also like so freaking good. So we're gonna get garbage plates, so you're here for sure.
Yes, I cannot wait.
So how do people find you if they're looking for you online or your website, maybe social media? Give us a couple ways people can get in touch.
Yeah, you can check out my website. I am redoing it. I am building it in FSE, full site editing. So, pray for me. www.nyashagreen.com. You can also find me on Twitter. I'm at NY underscore the underscore creator. Where else can you find me? Oh yeah, I'm not in that many places anymore, am I? I'm
You're
on
probably gonna
LinkedIn
be in
sometimes.
LinkedIn. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
I'm on. Oh yeah, I am a LinkedIn instructor. I have a course coming out. Please check out my course. Just watch it. You
Yeah.
don't even have to like. I would like if you watch it and like take in the information, but just like play it in the background while you're cooking or something. Like just give me those
Let's
views,
get those views up there. That's right, for sure.
so I don't have to sugar baby.
Oh my gosh. So if you are listening to this, go to WPCoffeeTalk.com, find Nyasha's episode. We will have the links to all of those things there. So you don't have to like have written them down. You don't have to rewind and find them. I will have them all right on WPCoffeeTalk.com for you. Nyasha, thank you so much for taking some time out of your evening to spend
Thank
with me so
you.
I can introduce you to even more people in the world. Really appreciate that. And I'm so much looking forward to seeing you in person soon too. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Welcome, and everybody else, we will see you on the next episode of WP Coffee Talk, where I don't know who it's going to be and I don't know where they're going to be, but we're going to have fun. So see you then.